Hi, welcome to 5 Minutes of Torah with a BI Rabbi. That's me, Adam Stein, on the left, your BI Rabbi for today. I want to tell you a little something that I learned at a retreat a few years ago. It's a rabbinic retreat called Rabbinic Training Institute, or RTI. It's put on by the Jewish Theological Seminary every year, and some people refer to it as Rabbi Camp. Now, I'll tell you why it's called Rabbi Camp, because we're sort of at a camp. It's actually a retreat center called Pearlstone Retreat Center. It's in the U.S. near Baltimore, a little over an hour drive from Washington, D.C. And as you can see, it's a beautiful setting to sit outside and discuss Jewish texts and practical and professional ideas with fellow rabbis and great scholars who come to teach. But actually, it's in January. It just happened this year, a month ago. Rabbi Infeld and I have been many times. Neither of us were there this year, but it's a great retreat that both of us have benefited from in the past. But because it's in January, it's too cold to be outside, so we're pretty much inside the whole time, maybe like this. Although often we're in smaller sessions, really gleaning great discussion and learning in small settings from fellow colleagues. Beautiful setting. There are the rooms right here. And that's where we stay. And here's my beautiful walk from my room in the morning to the davening and breakfast. Anyway, each year I've had the opportunity to learn from one of my favorite teachers and leaders in the conservative movement, Dr. Arnold Eisen. He's the chancellor of the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York City, the founding institution of the conservative movement. JTS existed even before there was a conservative movement. And it's the rabbinical school where Rabbi Infeld was ordained. I've actually had the pleasure of being a student and then friend of Dr. Eisen since I was a teenager when he was teaching here at Stanford University, where he was a religious studies professor and chair, and I was a kid growing up down the street. Anyway, so I was at RTI, the Rabbinic Training Institute, in the cold Baltimore winter, learning in a 4-day seminar with Dr. Eisen. It was several years ago, maybe 2014. This is a seminar focusing on some of the major leaders and philosophies of conservative Judaism over the past century or so. Now, you may wonder what a bunch of conservative rabbis can learn about conservative Judaism. Don't we already know about our own movement? Well, we can always learn, and from great teachers we can learn a lot. Dr. Eisen has been studying modern Judaism from a religious studies and sociological point of view for a few decades now. And in fact, when he was appointed chancellor, he was already recognized as one of the leading scholars on modern American Judaism, and specifically North American Jews and how we think. So he spoke about major figures in our movement, such as, of course, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel and Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan. We spoke about many other leaders of conservative Judaism as well, but I was fascinated by Dr. Eisen's own distillation of conservative Judaism, which he crafted into a booklet several years ago. It's called Conservative Judaism Today and Tomorrow. Now, the chapter started out as articles, actually blog posts, that he shared online. And I shared some passages from the pamphlet. It's actually a small book. It's even sold online on Amazon. I shared some passages at the Yom Kippur afternoon learning session a couple years ago. Right now, because time is short, I want to just share a little short bit about how he told us he began to structure his thoughts about conservative Judaism. He asked himself, how do I start a project like this? How do I structure it? And he said he decided to start with covenant. Covenant, a major theme and concept in Judaism, the covenant we make between ourselves and God, between ourselves and fellow Jews, with tradition. Now, traditionally, there's the original covenant with Abraham, then there's a major moment when we become a people, the covenant at Sinai. This moment right here. So Dr. Eisen starts with covenant, with the 10 commandments given in Parashat Yitro a couple weeks ago, continuing on to Parashat Mishpatim last week, and Parashat Terumah, which is this week. Then he says something interesting. He says 3 things are fundamental. 3 things. Now, one of them is this: we are a people. And that's a major part of Judaism, of being Jewish. We're not just religion or a language or food or dance or art or culture. We're all of those things, but we're also a people. And that fits very much with the philosophy of Mordechai Kaplan, whom I mentioned earlier. And here he is again. So that's our x-axis, our horizontal relationships. And Christian theologians talk about this too. The horizontal relationships are between us and our fellow human beings. And so that's the horizontal axis. And it's the relationships we have, and most importantly, the relationships that help us form the Jewish people. Then the y-axis, the vertical, of course, is our relationship to God, our connection to God. Now, we know that God isn't literally up there in the heavens, out of our reach. We teach and learn all the time that God is everywhere, and godliness can be felt everywhere. But the metaphor still works, the image of God being up there and us reaching towards the heavens to connect with God. So we're a people, we have connection to God, and number 3, agency. The people exists because God needs action from us in the world. And not just in the world, but to bring this world to a better place. The presumption of community is crucial, of course, and it's the partnership between humans and our community and the divine that brings us full circle and helps us make the world go round. So as we enter Shabbat on this Parashat Terumah, let us remember that it is through our own agency that we can make connections with other people, connections that form the Jewish people, and make connections to the divine, and that we are needed to take action to bring this world from the way it is to the way it should be. Shabbat Shalom.